Hello and welcome to a Medical School HQ workshop series talking all about activities. Today, my name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your co-host slash moderator slash all-around cool guy. I am joined by a good friend, colleague, Verinia Granum, former Assistant Dean of Pre-Health and STEM Advising at Hofstra University. You've been with us now for almost 2 years?
Almost 2.
Almost 2
Hello.
years. Next
I
month, right?
know. Yeah, June. Goodness. I keep forgetting it's next week.
It's next month.
Mhm.
As you are joining us, say hello, change your chat setting to everyone. I wish like that was a Zoom setting. I wonder if
Right?
it is like default to
Default.
everyone.
Yeah.
Change it to everyone so we all can see your lovely comments and letting us know where you are watching from, number one. And number two, if you are applying this cycle.
Yes. Let us know. Well,
Someone's apologizing for their submission.
already.
California, Vegas, hello Jordan, DC, Alu
NYC.
Wapalim. Yes, hello, Alu. Wapalumi.
Long Island. Woo.
Aluma Wapalumi.
There's someone here from Long Island.
I love it. Long
Right.
Island. You got
Long Island.
Island. Gotta
Gotta
get that
the
guttural.
The Mhm.
Gabriella. I read it as Gabriel first, and then I'm like, oh, that's an A. Gabriella. What is going on? Go Gators. All right. See I finally, I don't know, Verena, if you saw, I put my backdrop up finally again.
I know. Missed it.
Got my Gator helmet sitting in the background. That is a real backdrop. I could go pick that up off the shelf.
Yeah.
So anyway, Vicky
Awesome.
from Tejas, Chi from Hawaii. Hello. All right. The one thing I forgot to get going here was the activity section. As I pull that up, again, I'm calling on you, the student visiting us today. What are you most concerned about with your activity section? As I pull up our slides for today, what are you most concerned about?
Standing out. Yep. Writing a good story. Yep.
Story? You don't need stories. Just kidding.
A worthy description, showing growth. Yeah. Great points. Being authentic. So important. Man, so important.
Yeah.
Especially since pre-meds are doing similar things.
Yeah. And I like that
Right?
word authentic so much better than unique.
Yes. We're not looking for unique because you're all doing similar things. What we want is authenticity. Your interpretation of something is very different than someone else's. That's what we want to see.
You got it. All right. I got the slides rocking and a rolling. Let's do this. Yeah. How to support your activities, how to tailor your activities to support a powerful application. Activity categories, there was a change this year. Before we get into the full nitty gritty of everything, and as my mouse, let me click over my mouse setting so that it's less sensitive. I'm trying to find my Zoom window. My Zoom window goes over here, and then this goes over here. All right, there we go. Now I can see, and everything's good in the world. And let me get back to. There we go. AMCAS, Verenia, updated this year to add a category about social justice and advocacy. I'm getting a lot of questions. I don't know if you are, about students saying, oh, what do I put there?
Yep.
What's your thought there?
You'd be surprised. You may have done something that falls into that category without even realizing it. My concern when I first saw this was that students are going to immediately run out and try to do something just to fit into that category. And that's not necessary. Could be anything from, community service where you've worked to promote, equitable access to, I don't know, whatever it is for that community. That could be considered advocacy work. So really, don't zero in on saying, but I have not, identified one cause here or whatever it is, right? Be flexible, and just, if you don't have it though, don't panic, right? Just because you don't have it doesn't mean that's going to necessarily count against you.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking at this the categories we have here, we have strongly recommended, clinical experience, and shadowing, and then your choice, check schools. What does that mean? Strongly recommended, your choice, text check schools, because I think a lot of students will assume, wait a minute, research. I looked at the
Mm-hmm.
school, and 90% of the students have research, therefore it's required, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And so automatically they think, but I have to do this.
I
I
have
have
to.
to I have to have this. And they forget that it comes down to your personal choices and your what your interests are. If you're interested in research, go for it.
Mhm.
It does not mean that if you don't have that research experience that you necessarily can't apply to that school either, right? There may
Yeah.
be other things about that school that really excite you and you've done work in that area, right? So there's a big difference between required things versus things that are maybe recommended. And if you don't have them, that's okay. You've shown passion in other things.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see here, right? Even the clinical experience in shadowing isn't listed as
Hmm.
required, because for most schools, technically there are no requirements.
I know.
And we will say, I posted on social media the other day, we had a meme go out about like, you thought you were going to apply without any clinical experience, and like it's
Yeah.
like, ha ha ha, joke's on you. And students were like, what are you talking about? Like, I got in with no clinical experience. I'm like, good on you.
Hmm.
And that is the extreme kind of outlier. Yes. Is
Hmm.
it possible? Sure. Is it probable? Probably not. Right? It's hard, because ultimately, at the end of the day, one of the things, Vernia, that I say is like, the goal of clinical experience is to prove to
Hmm.
yourself
Yep.
that you like taking care of patients,
Yeah.
not I'm checking off a box, right?
Exactly.
And then you do those things, and you communicate with the medical schools through your applications, through interviews, that you have proven to yourself why you're doing this, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, great. I had a guest on the pre-med years recently. She's a professor of biology at Arizona State.
Hmm.
She was a pre-med. She got into med school, and then she was like,
Mm.
oh, I don't like paid care. And I was like,
What a
what
time to find
happened?
out.
She's like, I didn't do enough clinical
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. What a time to
She
find
dropped
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, she had at least a year of tuition debt,
Mm.
but hey, she figured it out. Um, Talking about clinical experiences and just activities in general, we have this do's and don'ts here, right? So do's, academics first, explore interests, right?
Hmm.
There's no right or wrong, or you have to. Um, Obviously, as close to as strongly you have to as possible with clinical experience and
Right.
shadowing,
Right. Mhm.
showing this consistency here. What are some of the biggest mistakes that students are making when they're thinking about these activities and what they should be doing?
Trying to fit in everything in a short amount of time. They're not starting early on, right? You're building towards this goal. First things first, find out if you even want to be in that environment. Find out if you enjoy that, right? Shadowing, clinical. Don't try to pack everything in. And so they get into that mentality of, okay, I've checked it out. I like it. Next, what do I have to do next, right? And so they forget at the end of the day to follow the things that they love and that they're interested in and to pursue those activities because that's what's going to come through in your application. Yes, you got the shadowing experience, you got the clinical experiences. What else have you done? How have you chosen to spend your time? Aside from, of course, focusing on your studies, what are the things that you are passionate about? And funny enough, I see this all the time. Students write about their hobbies, and most of the times that's the best description because that's what they're the most passionate about.
Yeah,
And I
it
say,
happens all the time.
yeah, I said, this is you. This is what I'm seeing here. Now we
Hmm.
just need to show that in your other activities. So don't forget, it's not just medical. It's explore what's out there, explore what you enjoy.
Yeah. All right. The don'ts. Too much, too fast, right?
Hmm.
Basically, the same as academics first. Make sure you're doing what you're doing, and then try to look good, right? Don't try to look good. To
Right.
me, that means like, stop doing stuff for the medical schools.
Yes.
Just do it for you. I was telling this story the other day to someone, I forget who. Um, Many years ago, I was at a conference in Tampa, and which is funny because we're going next week for a conference.
Mm.
And a student came up to me after I gave a talk, and he's like, "Dr. Gray, I have this thing coming up in the summer. I have 2 opportunities." And he told me the opportunities, like, which one should I do? And I knew that at the heart of his question was like, which one
one's
will look
better.
good?
Right.
Right? Which one will help me get into med school? Which one do medical schools want to see? Which one will help me stand out? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's almost never an answer to that question. So I said, which one do you want to do? And he goes, no, Dr. Gray, which one should I do? And I'm like, which one do you want to do? And he got mad. He's like, turned around and stormed off. I don't know where that kid is today, but hopefully he's doing well.
I get that.
Yeah, it's
I get
hard.
that. I'm sorry. I get that sometimes with, well, which should be my most meaningful?
Yep.
I can't tell you what your most meaningful experience
Had that
is.
exact conversation this morning with someone.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Checklist mentality, right? You are doing these things for you, and then you are showing the medical schools who you are, versus you're doing them for the medical schools.
Yeah.
Remember that. Okay. We're gonna have. I see lots of awesome questions coming through. We're gonna have plenty of time for some Q&A. We're gonna review a bunch of essays today, to kind of show you our thought process with how we look at activity descriptions, most meaningful experiences, etc. So, clinical versus shadowing. This comes up all the time. I saw some "is it clinical" questions come through. Verenia, what is the difference, and what the heck is clinical experience?
Yeah, great question. So clinical compared to shadowing, you're literally the doctor's shadow. So you're just observing, you're following them around on their day, seeing what the day-to-day is like, you're observing them interact with patients. But most of the times you're just kind of quietly in the corner.
Yeah.
Not really. If you're lucky, you might have a doctor who's like, involving you in the conversation. Most of the times you're just observing. Clinical experience is where you get to actually interact with the patient and engage with them, take care of that person in some way that impacts their health. That is, so shadowing is sort of like the entry level, right? You're just observing. Clinical is where you're actually hands-on with the patient. And that's the kind of experience that you want to be able to get so that you yourself understand, am I going to enjoy taking care of Mrs. Jones when she's cranky because she's sick and not feeling well? Like that's where you're really going to see that and see the impact of your care on someone else.
Yeah. Sid asked a question. I'll answer it here. I think Sid asked the question. Where'd it go? Oh, no. Gotham. Do you have to have clinical experience and shadowing? For example, I've been a scribe for over a year, so do I need dedicated shadowing hours as well? I'll answer that with a story. I was listening to a former admissions committee member at Harvard. She was a student admissions committee member, so there's a little caveat to that. She said Harvard would screen applications with 0 shadowing hours. They would screen them out.
So not even looking at them.
Not looking at them. Get your shadowing hours. Yeah, it's different. Shadowing is different.
What's interesting is Zucker, Hofstra University School of Medicine. They don't even consider shadowing. They don't care. They're like that means nothing to me. So
interesting.
They're more interested in actual patient care experience. So yeah, you should have it, but that's not a big thing for them.
Yeah. Good. All right. So the answer is, who knows? We're just making this crap up as we go.
It varies by school, like everything else, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I think the most important thing at the end of the day is get in there, find out if this is what you like. If you find that out through shadowing, great. Continue, pursue clinical experiences. That's it.
Yeah.
Just get in there.
Get in there. Get your hands dirty. Yeah. At the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of these answers that we give are, it depends, right? There are 200 plus medical schools in this country and 200 plus opinions. So that is the answer. We try to give big picture, broad advice that reflects the majority of the opinion in this country. So direct patient care, clinical experience.
Yep.
Paid or unpaid. Huge misunderstanding. Again, this morning, I had tons of great conversations this morning. A student was talking about volunteer experience. I'm like, so we're on the same page here. When you say volunteer, do you mean clinical or non-clinical? And he was meaning clinical. I'm like, oh, glad we cleared this up, because volunteer, to me, when we say volunteer, I mean community service, right? Non-clinical, soup kitchen, homeless shelter, Habitat for Humanity type stuff. Right. Whereas clinical experience can be paid or unpaid. They're both fine. They both have equal weight.
Exactly.
And then two other caveats here we have, right? Doesn't have to be in a clinic and doesn't have to be supervised by a physician. That's another common myth that students are like, well, I wasn't supervised by a physician. I'm like, that's fine.
Doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
Yep.
Right. Community service. Mentioned it. Community service.
This is a really important point, though, that not all unpaid work is community service.
Yep.
So keep that in mind when you're thinking of community service. You're serving your community in some way. But not all unpaid work is necessarily community service. Just keep that in mind.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is best? Can't tell you. Right. We cannot tell you what the answer is. You have to dig deep. We can't tell you which ones to mark as most meaningful. We can't tell you what to do one activity over the other. The most common things are like, hey, my kid has the opportunity to be a scribe or an EMT. Which one should they do, right? Which one do they think they will enjoy the most, right?
Yeah.
EMT. Go ahead.
Do you like being on an ambulance, or do you want to be in an office? Like, think about it. All of that. It's what do you enjoy?
That's it. So some nuts and bolts here in terms of activities. Remember, AMCAS is limited. They are the ones kind of handcuffing us a little bit. 15 activities max. I don't like how it says essay max. 15 activities max. And 700 characters. Remember, you can mark 3 of them as most meaningful. You get a separate 1,325 character essay, not an additional 1,325, right? 3 additional essays, not an additional character count on top of 700. So, and that essay is, why was this most meaningful for you? Right. ACOMIS, no most meaningfuls, unlimited activities. The categories are a little bit stricter in ACOMIS, but you get close to the 700. You get 700 or 600 rather characters. And then TMDSAS, again, unlimited. I like how it's infinity. You get infinity spots. I'm sure there's some limit there. 500 characters. This is new for this year. TMDSAS expanded almost all of the sections to 500 characters. Thank the Lord, except for employment and non-academic recognition, I think is the category.
I think so, yeah.
Check me on that exact language. But yeah. And then you get 3 most meaningfuls there as well for 500 characters.
Yep.
Sweet.
Sometimes I get asked how many activities should I put on my comments application. It's, as many as you need to. But remember that an infinite number does not mean that it's an infinite amount of time on the reader. Like, they don't have that much time to read. So you don't, just 15, 20, maybe, 50 is a bit much. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so note here, for ACOMIS, they'll count activities in the last 10 years, collegiate level, I believe. Someone fact check. So that's not what they'll count. I literally was just looking at their application instruction manual the other day about this. They recommend that the activities are within the last 10 years and collegiate level, but it's not like a strict rule.
Right.
So yeah. So high school, let's talk about high school real quick. So AMCAS does not specify anything about high school, include, not include. ACOMIS, as we just mentioned, says within the last 10 years and collegiate level, ideally, and TMDSAS says no high school level stuff.
Exactly.
So if you are looking for an activity tracker, go check out Mapped. It is free. Track all of your activities, make journal entries, diary entries, so that when you are applying to medical school, you have all of your information at your fingertips. You also get nice GPA calculation because your school transcripts, especially if you've been to more than one school, may not accurately show what exactly is your application GPA. Some schools may calculate a B plus as 3.5. AMCAS and all the other services, except TMDSAS because they don't have plus and minuses, AMCAS and ACOMAS calculated as 3.3. And then again, TMDSAS doesn't use plus minus. So if you got a B plus, you get a 3.0, not a 3.3. If you get an A minus, you get a 4.0, not a 3.7. So it goes back and forth. If you're looking for some one-on-one advising, come check us out. We added a new advisor to our team this week, Dr. Christine Crispin. She's a former director of admissions at UC Irvine and was most recently, I think this past cycle, on the admissions committee at Keck at USC. So we have some new availability. We've been jam-packed lately. So if you want some help writing essays, activities, interview prep, all that fun stuff,
check us out.
Check us out. Now, Premed Pathway. I think most of you are applying. We'll skip that one. That's it. Premed Pathways for if you're younger. Let's go into, if I can stop screen sharing, let's go into some essay editing, some essay reviewing, some essay feedback. And this is where we get into some team participation, as I will share my screen here. The goal is for us to review these. I'll scroll through these randomly. We'll stop at one, and then what we're looking for is your feedback, gentle, kind feedback, constructive feedback, and then we'll give our thoughts as well. So I'm going to we'll do this first one here. Take a look at it. All right, so Green Loop Startup. They were co-founder of and director of product development. That's kind of cool. So let's start with the description.
They're putting feedback in the chat, right? We're not unmuting.
Yeah, they can't unmute. So feedback in the chat.
Yeah, feel free to comment in the chat.
Seems to be selling the product more than focusing on the impact this experience had for them. Okay. Is it necessary to put quotes around all names or just from clinical? You don't have to put them around all. You don't have to use pseudonyms for everything. Obviously, clinical stuff, patients. But if it is a pseudonym, go ahead and put it there. Angelina says, I wish more numbers and impact were included. Okay. Awesome. Bernie, what do you think about that description itself?
I like it. The last sentence did feel forced. Someone mentioned it earlier. Like, I'm okay with the way it's phrased, including Mark, because you're kind of showing individual, like someone actually benefiting from this. But then it was fulfilling to see this impact. It just felt very generic.
Okay.
And that's something that students struggle with. And even I have a hard time sometimes with that. Because maybe it just was a fulfilling experience. But I feel like every experience is going to be fulfilling, right? So just think of different ways of phrasing that.
Okay.
I do like it though.
Yeah. I would be interested potentially, this is maybe a little bit of a different angle, to find out more of who this person is. I would be interested to know why they did this, right? What were their passions behind starting a company like this?
I didn't read the most meaningful. Maybe they talked about it there.
Yeah, let's get to most meaningful.
Oh, okay. Mm,
There's the reason.
Yep. And there's numbers too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, okay.
Most meaningful part is great in my opinion, says Amber.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I agree.
Hire? How do you say that? Hire? Explained it more. Loved it. Laura, so much better. Yeah. So all of you seem like you're connecting so much better with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry. Hey, Jerry.
Oh.
Simple.
Yeah.
Overcomplicated. Yeah. Right. This seems like it's much more authentic and not
Mm-hmm.
forced. Right.
It's hard though because with the description you only have so much space.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he struck, or she, sorry, they struck a good balance here of describing a little bit so that I understand what it is, and then in the most meaningful, I'm looking for that why. So good work there. Is it necessary to include the patent number? That's
No.
just my cure. No, right?
No.
You can if you want to.
Yeah. Nothing is. Hey, wait. There
Wait,
are no
yes.
rules.
I
Got my
forgot.
button ready.
Yep, good.
Is that the max character? So let's see what the character count is. The character count is
Wow.
1324.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there.
Spot on. I think this was really strong.
Yeah. Good.
Good. Good work.
All right. We have 80 pages of essays. You guys definitely did well. 1284. We're gonna skip. Here's
Mm-hmm.
a 474. So maybe this is a team DSAS one. Looks like they skipped out on telling us what it was.
Mm. Well, yeah. This feels very incomplete.
Yes. Very incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna skip that one.
Yeah.
Let's
Sorry.
go here.
Okay. But there's no details.
Yeah, it looks like
Oh,
either students weren't putting in, maybe we didn't force it, or there's something broken with the automation
okay.
putting it in.
Okay.
Laura, you say good start. What about it is a good start? And what are they missing to make it great?
Hmm. There may have been an issue with the submission page, someone just said. Okay.
Okay. We got some academy people here. They know the drill.
They do. Okay, yep. Conclusion feels incomplete. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, so for the role, they're an enrollment
mhm.
person, so someone who tries to get people into the Medi-Cal.
Sure, right. But then there's that weird blank there while volunteering at blank clinic, which
Yeah, they just
I
left
don't.
it for anonymous purposes for the
Oh, okay.
submission.
Okay. Um, but the conclusion sort of, I'm missing the point here.
Yep,
Um,
exactly. What did this mean to you as
it's
a
very
student?
generic. Mm-hmm.
Good. I forgot to be marking these. All right,
Okay.
let's keep going. Sorry about the form not including the other stuff. I wonder what happened.
Hmm.
Oh. So lots of people like these. They love in the teamwork, simple
Mm.
and enjoyable. Renee, what do you think?
I mean, it's just I would have rather kind of, we talked earlier about why, like, why is this what you enjoy doing is missing there. I don't really need to know like the setup. It's a lot of scene setting, right? This one game, this one event. I did like that they said that their chemistry and unselfishness led to a championship T-shirt. Like I got a chuckle out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's too much setup. Tell me more
Yeah.
about like, what'd you gain out of this? Why'd you do it? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Um,
Yes, yes. So be big on why you enjoy it.
yeah. So to me, what people are talking about, like, oh, I like it, teamwork. To me, it feels so forced to sell teamwork
Mm-hmm.
because typically it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, being a doctor is like being on a team, and so I'm going to show you how I'm good at teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very in tune to the sales
But
pitch. I'm like,
but
ah.
this is literally teamwork. Like it's a sport.
I know, but the student is forcing the teamwork angle versus just talking about being on
Yeah,
a team and
true.
enjoying
That's true.
the sport.
Yeah. So take out the word teamwork. Just leave it at our chemistry and unselfishness. Let us do a championship T-shirt. That's the solution. Okay. Okay.
Instagram.
Ooh, you don't know anything about that, do you?
Nope.
Mm, okay.
Communication skills. Yeah, looks pretty cool.
I don't think they're
Networking
selling it.
skills.
I'm okay with it though. I'm okay with it.
You and I have different
I
different
know.
opinions on this,
It
which is fun.
depends.
Like
Yeah. It
I don't think any student should go skills anywhere. Like just
yeah. It
communication
depends on
skills, teamwork
it
skills.
depends it depends on the activity a little bit, I think. But
Yeah, I don't think so.
all right. So just say, skip that whole thing. Just say I've negotiated over 100 contracts,
Yeah.
right? That's showing that
Yeah.
you had to work on those skills and develop them. So
Yeah.
there you
I
go.
love it. I love it. Yeah. And again, what for everyone watching, right? Verinia and me having this discussion and disagreeing a little bit isn't bad. She's allowed to have her thoughts. I'm allowed to have my thoughts. And this is exactly the issue with trying to force everyone into the a same bucket. Like there are lots of opinions at various medical schools, and they're all going to think about things differently. And some may like that they talked about
Mhm.
fostering communication skills, and someone's going to go, "Oh, I'm so glad that they are working on their communication skills and understand that communication skills are important as a physician." To me, I'm just kind of like, well, duh. But there are other people that are like, oh, I'm so glad they understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. So do the best to show and not tell. That's the best way I think to try to
Yeah.
cover your bases.
Yeah.
And I think they've done that very well here. Right?
Yeah.
20,000 followers, 100 contracts, blah blah blah.
Yep. But then how do you reflect, right? So, Karina, you're assuming the reflection has to be skills that you've learned. To me, the reflection should be what did it mean to you, not what did you learn, what skills did you build upon, right? What did it mean?
Yep.
Um, I like their reflection here, actually. Their reflection is very simple. It seems very
Mhm.
authentic,
Mhm.
right? I aim to increase confidence in more women in sharing what they love. Awesome,
That's it.
right?
Yeah.
That's what it means to you.
Mhm. That's it. It is over the limit, but whatever. Like, you'll have to cut down on characters to make that fit.
Yep.
Gosh, I hate that.
Well, take out those communication skills; it'll fit right in.
There you go. All right. Mm. What's a common theme in this one? Let's see if anyone spots it. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Joe W. The word leader is in every sentence. Talk about selling skills.
Yeah.
This is a great example of what not to do. Yep, some negativity in there too. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So, no
Um,
bueno. Don't like
no
this
bueno.
one.
Just too much leader in every sentence.
Yeah.
And I don't know what leader team is. My goal was to provide my leader team with the support they needed, so it just
Yeah.
needs a little reworking.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Mhm.
5, 6,
Yeah.
7.
Mhm.
7 times. It's like a drinking game. All right. So this one needs to be reworked. All right. We don't like that one. All right. So I love seeing some there's some red ones on here. Oh, these are older ones.
Hmm.
What the heck happened here?
I don't know.
Hey.
Something got crossed in there. Okay.
That's weird. I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Some comments in the chat. It reads like a job description. Not much of, reflection. Why'd you do it? For 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? Why'd you do it? Did you enjoy it? I don't even know if you
Mhm.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do
You
you
talk
know?
about
So here's what I read from this.
Mhm.
What are they trying to sell me here? I'm used to working hard, and I know that med school is going to require a lot of hard work.
Mhm. Yeah. And you mentioned that intentional self-care outside of work is essential to avoid burnout. So you're saying you were burned out. I
Yeah.
would be too, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe not something you want to focus on in an activity description.
Yeah. Why leave that
Yeah.
lingering doubt in the
Yeah.
person's head? Tip, don't tell on yourself. I
Yeah.
love that, Jerry. I'm gonna make that a t-shirt. Tip, don't tell on yourself.
Don't rat
Yeah.
yourself out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the
Yeah.
times you don't realize it that that's how it's coming across.
Exactly.
Um, highlight the positives.
Yes. All right. So they have a little bit of numbers here. Children from over 50 families, ongoing relationship, right? Demanding,
Mm-hmm.
72 hours a week. They're trying to paint this picture of I'm used to working hard. I'm okay working hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have burnout. So it's like, well, which one is it? And obviously, I'm not saying that you can't have burnout, but again, as Jerry said, tip: don't tell on yourself.
Yeah.
All right, so let's try. Here's the most meaningful one.
Research. Okay.
sort of zoned out and started skimming. I love it. I feel like I'm reading an abstract. Yeah, this is very technical.
Yeah.
How do you do that though, Vernia? A lot of students will ask the question like, should I be technical? Should I tell them exactly what I'm working on, or should I
A lot of
not?
times, people on admissions committees just may not have this background. So I tell
Mhm.
students, just explain it to me. I need to be able to understand it. I don't have a sciencey background. Um, I work with students. I have a strong English background. So write it in a way that makes sense to the common person, right? So you can talk a little bit about what the project was about, just a little bit, just enough so they understand what you were doing in this research, but then the rest should be, why did I do this? Why did I enjoy it? Was it frustrating? What did I get from this? Right?
Mhm.
They're not that invested in the actual research that you were doing, right? Because you're not continuing this. It's okay. They know you got research experience, they know you got lab experience. Tell them why you did it. What was exciting about it?
Yeah, what it meant to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Right.
times students just want to make sure that it's out there, that they know, oh, look, I worked on this research and this was really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
You know.
I know how to do Western blot and PCR
Yeah, he
and
mentioned
assays.
they mentioned that here too. Yeah.
Of course they do. That's just
Yeah.
what they do. Right.
Um,
No, nobody. I love being hyperbolic with this kind of stuff. Like,
mhm.
no admissions committee member is sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, we finally found someone that knows Western blot." Right? It's like, no, that's just not what they're doing.
Yeah. And when you think about it, it's not your research. You helped a professor or, a PI doing this research. So,
Yep.
don't write about it as if you were the one that
Yep.
investigated this.
Yeah. Allie says we all do. It's tested on the MCAT. Exactly. So why are you doing it? Why are you putting it
Mhm,
on there? All right.
mhm.
What do you think about the opening to this most meaningful? I'm getting a lot of I like science vibes.
Mhm.
Thus, in order to truly learn medicine, one must start at its foundation, for which it does not exist without.
Yes. And don't
That's a
forget,
very profound, deep statement.
yes, yes. And don't forget that research is the fundamental aspect of medicine.
Mhm.
That's not telling me anything about you.
Yeah,
This you kind of went off into this whole tangent of telling the admissions committee what medicine is about.
yeah, yeah.
You
And
you gotta mhm.
I love Ali's comment here. Right, I'm wondering why not PhD with
Mm,
this description.
good point.
Right. And
Good point.
there's obviously some balance, right? It's one
Mhm.
activity. You're allowed to love research, and talk about it a bunch. You don't need to tie research into medicine, or any of your activities into medicine. Um, but yeah, this is a lot of sciencey nerds stuff here.
Mm.
All right. So maybe tone down some of the science language. Focus a little bit more on what it meant to you. Maybe trying to understand, right? Why are you potentially passionate about these topics? Right? What
Yeah, I
do you
was
have
just
any personal interest in the topics?
and that's what I was just gonna say, that the most meaningful talk, it's more about why research is meaningful and not why it's most meaningful to you.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yep.
Haley asked, do we always have to have a takeaway? Yeah,
Reflection. Yeah.
that's the whole point, kind of. Hmm.
It's
Otherwise, then you're
this.
just telling them some, about some activity that you did, but there's no reason for them to know why you did it.
Hmm. Yeah. As Dr. Wright says, our colleague Dr. Wright, it's not about the what, it's about the so what.
Yep. Why should I care that you did this?
Hmm.
Tell me why. Someone asked, could we have an example of a clinical experience for review?
We have what we
Oh,
have.
okay.
This does not look like a most meaningful. Maybe this is. Hold on, let me see what the character count is here.
Okay, yeah, that's the
635,
description.
and that's the most meaningful. That's a little
Potentially.
long. Let's
Mm.
assume.
Mm-hmm.
description.
Mm. Sorry, job description type. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why did you want to do this? I'm just reading the comments in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't read the most meaningful part yet, but even in your description, you have to show a little bit of why you're, wanting to do this. What was motivating you to pursue this? I have a question about how they enjoyed improving the personal integrity of their residents. I think that's the wrong choice of word there.
Yeah.
I think you mean
So
dignity, maybe? I don't know.
yeah, maybe dignity or
Mhm.
maybe what I'm getting out is autonomy, like Ali's
Autonomy. Yep.
saying. Yeah, the
Someone just
personal
mentioned, yes.
personal autonomy, right? And so this to me again screams basically a list of, ooh, I know all of the things
Mhm.
that a doctor must have and do, and one of the things that they must respect personal autonomy, and they must have compassion, and they must have empathy towards others. And so as the student is just writing their sentences, they're just like, what trait or what skill can I check off in this next sentence?
Mhm.
Vernia, one of the common things that students do is they feel like they have to kind of show every last thing that they did versus kind of in general. Like it's like
Mhm.
on Mondays from 8 to 3 we did this, and on Tuesdays from
Mhm.
8:30 to 3:30 we like.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah, what are your
Just
thoughts there?
paraphrase. No, you don't need that. It's a waste of characters. Just
Yeah.
paraphrase. You can say, I enjoyed playing games and watching movies with the residents or whatever it is. You don't have to
Mhm.
specify what days of the week you were doing it. Someone asked, they're confused about how to use the normal box versus the most meaningful box. The description is the normal box. With a most meaningful activity, the deep reflection and digging in and showing how this experience was impactful and why it was meaningful to you, that's the most meaningful part. So in the description, you can kind of just generalize a little bit about what you did, but you still need to show a little bit of why you were interested in doing this in the first place.
Mhm.
That's it. And then the most meaningful, you can get into more detail. And
Okay.
depending on the role too. Some roles you have to spend more time describing what it is because it's just not a commonly known thing. Like
Yeah.
the first one we did, the startup. I had no idea what that was. So you
Yeah.
have to go into more detail.
Yep.
Can you tell stories in both description and most meaningful? Yeah, you could. Requires a lot of skill to be able to say what you want to say and still capture that like aspect of why it was meaningful to you, but it's
Mhm.
possible. And in a short amount of space, but it's possible.
Mhm.
Taylor asked for an EMT story. Sorry, for an EMT description, should you tell a story to show teamwork or leadership? That's not the goal here.
Yeah. Again,
Remember?
stop trying to
Yeah.
sell skills. Just say who you are.
Yes. Why did you do this? What was motivating you? Were you interested in becoming an EMT?
Mhm.
Tell them a patient interaction story or, a transporter, whatever it was that really impacted you. I had a student recently tell me that they were looking at their activities descriptions and trying to match it up with competencies, right? The core competencies. And I said, why are you doing that? Oh, well, an advisor said I should make sure to hit on these different competencies. And I think that's what students try to do. And so the message is lost because you're showing who you are through your descriptions, and they're going to see, oh, they had leadership skills because they did X, Y, and Z. You don't have to, like shove it in their faces.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, some students are saying, but my advisor told me to do that. And
Right.
it's there isn't one right way for this. There's our philosophy, which is you will attract more bees with honey than vinegar. I think selling skills is vinegar. I think it's a turnoff. That's my personal opinion, and I have reasons behind that because I think telling a story is connecting human to human. I can see you, I can feel what you felt and see what you saw, and understand your experience versus you just going, well, I know that compassion and empathy are necessary to be a doctor, right? Again,
Mhm.
I come back to, well, duh. Like, but some people love that stuff and they eat it up all day, and I'm just like, I ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, and it's subjective, right? You telling me that you
Very.
have those skills, it's not, why should I take your word
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah. Hey, Verinia, do you know I can leap tall buildings in a single bound?
Show me. Go out there and show me.
I'm faster than a speeding bullet. Who am
That,
I?
yeah. Super Dr. Gray. So yeah, no, just let your actions speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Show that.
Yeah. So Jerry says, how would you describe a hobby? I enjoy doing makeup and painting, especially with my siblings. It helped me mentally do well and also connect with my siblings since I was so busy with schools, but I'm not sure how to word it. Just talk about what
You
it
just
meant to
did.
you.
You
It's the
did a little
same for
bit.
everything. Yeah. All right. Let's answer some questions. I want to make sure we
Okay.
answer some questions.
Yeah.
If you have a question, you want to raise your hand. I'll allow you to unmute. And then we can answer some questions.
Don't be shy.
All right, Tyler.
Hey there.
Hello.
Hey there, hi there, ho there.
So I did have a question. You guys mentioned something that was kind of intriguing to me about expressing yourself and why you did it. For one of mine, I tried to show that in the least character uh, limits possible by saying things like expressing interest or um, to foster meaningful relationships. Could that be considered selling? I was trying to find a creative way to express why I was interested in doing it.
Hmm. It can be. It's hard to tell you without kind of having more of a sense of what the activity is. But instead of saying, I fostered relationships or whatever, talk about that relationship. What was it? Was there a particular, like a student or a patient or someone that you worked with? What did you do with them? How did you foster that relationship? It depends on the activity.
Okay. Yeah, and this is part of one of my most meaningful. So this was the first part of the most meaningful. And then the essay portion, the 1325, actually goes deeper into the patient interaction.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, so in the description, you're saying that you fostered relationships?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
fostered relationships and expressing interest in them. And then it goes more into detail on the essay portion, the 1325,
Okay.
using a specific interaction with one patient and telling the story. I was just trying to find a creative way to kind of encompass all of that without trying to just sell myself or tell something.
Yeah, it's hard to say, like I said, without knowing what the activity was. But the goal is in that description is think big picture, broadly. What was the impact? What did I do here? Why did I do it? Um, maybe you do have to say something like, I was excited about the idea of fostering these relationships because blah blah blah. It's not just that you fostered them, but why? Why was that exciting for you? And then you go into more detail in the most meaningful part.
Okay, that makes a lot of
Okay.
sense. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah. All right. Disable talking. Where did Jennifer?
Hi, how are you?
Bueno.
My question was, I have an activity about a leadership position I held in a sorority where we kind of mentored the new members. And I've just heard from people that it's good to kind of wrap up some of your activities, maybe with something that you want to bring to a medical school class. So do you think it's too forced if I kind of talked about that experience that I've already done and then say kind of like, I hope to do a similar female mentoring program at a medical school in the future? Like, is that, obviously I'd word it better than that, but
Verinia?
be honest and brutal. I don't
Oh,
Yeah, no.
do you know us?
So we feel very strongly that you should not tie all your activities to medicine in some way.
What if it's just one though? Still no.
What's
I don't-
the goal?
Right.
Like with saying that, I don't know. I've just heard from people, which
Mm-mm.
obviously I know how that goes. But
Yeah.
just that it's good to like discuss different things that you would actually contribute to a medical class.
That's what secondaries are for.
Okay.
That's when you can go off and talk about what you want to do and how you're going to contribute. Obviously, you're going to answer the prompt.
When the
Right.
school
But-
specifically says, "Hey, we're
Yes.
interested to know what you're going to bring to us," then you talk about it.
Exactly. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
welcome.
So the general thing that I say is don't insert your agenda where it's not being asked.
Right.
The activities section doesn't say answer this prompt and tell us what you're going to bring to the class. The activities section says just what? Tell us about this activity. Right? And then there are secondary essays that literally will say like tell us what you're going to add to the class.
I love Gotham's comment in the chat. So you're not trying to answer how you would make a good doctor, but how you're a good person, or just how you're a person.
How you're a person. And what did this thing mean
Yeah.
to you?
That's it. That is exactly it.
That's it.
Because how do you know you're a good doctor? That's not, that's not up to you to decide.
Yep.
The process feels like a blind date. Yes. That is exactly it.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me get the Fitchy.
Mm.
Hello, the Fitchy.
Hello.
Hello.
It's Chisholm. I forgot to change the name, but I have a very strong, very extensive experience when it comes to like clinical experience, shadowing, research, and leadership. And I have a really strong MCAT as well. But my GPA wise, my GPA, at least my cumulative is like a 3.49. And do you think having that strong, I guess having that part of your application being weak and making up for that in other aspects like your activity section and the other aspect of your application would help balance that out and improve your chances of being accepted?
Verinia.
No. It's the short answer, right? Because
Right.
there's no MCAT score that's going to necessarily offset a lower GPA.
Mhm.
They do look at your application in full,
Right.
right? And a 3.4 is not necessarily a poor GPA. I don't know what your trends look like, but I'm just saying, you can't worry about that. You
Right.
can't approach this as well. I'm just gonna go ahead and, try to impress them with all this other stuff. All you can do is
Right.
focus on telling them what you've done. And if you've decided now that I'm ready to apply, then it is what it is, right? But don't approach this thinking the way you're thinking right now. Is this gonna help me in some way?
Mhm.
Right? Just focus on have I done enough? Have I shown steady improvement in my grades or whatever it is? Have I set up that my trend to show that, and my application, does my application show that? That's all you can really focus on,
Right.
and let them decide how they're going to look at it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. And one more question. Do you think if there is an explanation, like an academic explanation, for example, is there a place for you to explain that in the application?
Explain like
Explain the grades. Is
the
that what you're
lower.
saying?
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, because in my senior year in college, so my sophomore, junior and senior years, I have a trend of like I'm like in 3.8, 3.9, but it's just my freshman year when I was really new, and I had a case of plagiarism, and this was just due to my own ignorance, honestly, and that really affected me and affected my cumulative as a whole. So I wanted to
Yeah.
know how medical schools would probably look at that.
Well, you're going to have to answer yes to an institutional action, and so
Right.
you have the opportunity to explain it there.
Mhm.
That's probably the only place. I mean, the fact that your second, third, and fourth year has done very well.
Right.
That's why a 3.4 is, we don't know what that means, but a
Yeah.
3.4 with 3.8 for your last 3 years, that's
Mhm.
super solid. So
Right.
I think you'll be fine. Own your mistakes. Own your young naivete and stupidity, whatever,
Mhm.
lack of fully functional frontal lobe, whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be all
Okay.
right.
Thanks.
Sure.
Right. Jerry.
Hi there.
Hello.
I wanted to ask, because
It's so funny, Jerry. You've taught me your name like 4 times, and every time I'm like, I don't remember.
it's cool. It makes it fun. Honestly, it makes it fun.
You just need, I really need people in their Zoom, like change your name to some phonetic spelling to help us poor people. I don't know. Anyway, keep
That's
going.
fair.
Sorry, Jerry.
It's okay. I wanted to ask, I was part of a research club and I switched leadership positions from secretary to treasurer. I don't know if I'm saying that right, treasurer. And I wanted to ask, would that be in one full activities section? I didn't really know how to go about it. I know that there are no rules, but
There are no rules.
Yeah.
You beat me to the punch, Verinia.
Yeah.
I just didn't
especially-
want it to seem repetitive, like,
Mhm. Yep.
these two clubs and two
Right.
different positions, and then I'm saying the exact same thing.
Right.
Like, I was just
Exactly.
afraid that they were gonna be like, oh, this is just flow.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. And you, with AMCAS only having 15 slots, you're going to want to condense some of that stuff too. So you can put all that in one description and just say, I was part of this club, I held multiple roles, whatever, all in one description. And that's it. You don't
Oh,
need
okay.
separate entries. And then obviously
Okay.
explain like the why behind it and what
Yeah.
you got out of it.
Okay, cool, great. I also wanted to ask, for the ACOMAS application, I know that they have like an achievement category for, let's just say, for example, publications. Right now, I just I'm getting reviews for a certain article that's not yet published. So would I just not talk about that since it's not published yet? And should I just put that in the research category that we're currently under review?
Right, yeah. That's okay to put that there.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, you guys.
You're welcome. All right. Haley.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Hello.
How do I?
You're
Is
there.
it unmuted? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I
Hi.
can hear you.
Hi. Thank you. I had a question. So my activity section that I'm really struggling with is talking about scribing, and I have your book, and it's very helpful, but learning so much was a big takeaway. And I'm not trying to like sell to the admissions committee that like, oh, well, I have all this knowledge and I'm going to be a great doctor. Like, but that was a huge impact. This is my first job in medicine. I learned all about these diagnoses and these pathologies, and it was amazing. It was exciting. I'd love to go to work. And so is that me trying to sell it if I talk about that?
So stop. Haley, what did that mean to you?
I mean, I just I mean, I enjoyed the job so much and learning all of this information.
What did it mean to you?
Okay. I guess I'm gonna have to think on that.
Yeah. Right. So I'll generically do an EMT thing, right? So if I was an EMT, I would maybe have a sentence about what my role was as an EMT, because there are some differences depending on where you're at. If you're in the emergency room, if you're on an ambulance that responds to motor vehicle accidents, or if you're just doing patient transport a lot, right? So maybe a sentence of that. Maybe I give a little anecdote, and then what did it mean to me, right? Showing up to work every day, helping people. Helping people get through what may be the worst day in their life is something that I'll never forget, right? That's meaning, and that's authentic versus I like to learn, right? Yes, I understand you
Yes.
like that. And obviously you're on this journey because you're fascinated by the science and you have some sort of passion behind it, but that's not authentic meaning to you.
Okay. And then you talk about in your book, like not talking about negativity, which is great. But I think going into medicine, a lot of us have this very idealized view of what it is. And working as a scribe in an ER, like really opens your eyes to what medicine is. Is that bad? Or does that sound negative if I just say that it really showed me the reality? There's not, it's not all miracles and saving lives all the time.
Vernie, what do you get when you read that kind of stuff?
If at first I'm like, well, yeah, no, duh.
Well,
it's
duh.
not. It's not.
Yeah.
Yes, we know that. So you don't have to tell them that you know that
Yeah.
because they know that.
Yeah. It's
Um,
very common. Students are like, I know that I'm not going to be able to save everyone. I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I've seen plenty of students talk about inequities that they've seen, obviously healthcare system issues that we have, and it doesn't come across as negative. So I think it could potentially be done right. I think, again, this maybe try to avoid the well duh kind of
Right.
line.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Maybe that's two t-shirts. Tip: don't tell on yourself, and avoid the well duh
Well, duh.
line. Awesome.
And I wouldn't recommend saying I saw the failures of the healthcare system. They don't. That's negativity.
Yeah. Karina.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice to meet you both. Thanks for your time. I'm thinking about one particular activity description that I'm writing right now where I volunteered in my church's nursery. And I have two different versions I'm playing with. One where I helped soothe a deaf child and really enjoyed the experience of giving that child's parents a little break and rest from their stressful parenting lives. And another one that I think falls in the negative category that I just wanted your reflections on. It's about a time a celebrity visited my church, and in caring for this child, there was so much excitement and a number of policy violations that happened in all the excitement. And for me, it was a very impactful moment, realizing what a responsibility I have taking care of the vulnerable children. And that's what I'm wanting to write about, because I think I just have enough other experiences where I talk about caring for disabled people and whatever. So I was wondering if that just seems like a big no-no and a big don't tell on yourself.
That part. Why would you tell them that there were policy violations? I don't know. That's my opinion. But now, what does the celebrity have to do with
policy? I don't. Yeah.
There was taking the child out to show people, not by me, by someone else, oh, look who's here, whose child this is. And that's just a big no-no.
Yeah,
nobody was harmed, but I think I learned a lot about just what it means to be a responsible adult in.
But what would be the goal in sharing that with them? It took that experience for you to figure out how to be a responsible adult.
Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Focus more on the kids that you had an impact on you and why. You mentioned the parents and giving them a break, but you weren't working with the parents, you were working with the kids, right? So talk about the kids. And part of it, tangentially, you helped out the parents too, which was nice. But that's what I would try to focus on, and the why behind why you did it. The why behind why you did it.
Great. And then if I may, if it's not overstepping, I'm curious if you have any tips for how to tell stories with yourself in those stories without coming across as too like self-serving or self-aggrandizing, like painting the story so like, oh, I wiped their brow and held their hand. And it always feels uncomfortable to write about yourself. So what's your pro tip there?
Ryan?
I don't have any pro tips. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you tend to be a lot more like to the point. Yeah, just don't be cheesy, right? You have a sense of, right, what sounds a little bit like creative writing.
Yep.
Versus just authenticity.
Yeah.
So it may take a couple of drafts. It may take getting feedback from others. Does this sound cheesy? Is this, corny?
Yeah.
That's it.
All I can think about is my good friend Chester Cheetah, who says it ain't easy being cheesy.
Yeah. That's
Thanks
it.
so much for your time.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right. And just a reminder, for those of you struggling to continue to struggle, who maybe want some extra eyes on medicalschoolhq.net/advising, we can help you out. I'll leave that in the chat. Angelina.
Hello, how are you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good. I have a question. I was fortunate to have multiple awards in different categories. One for clinical, the other one is for athletic, and some for educational. And I was wondering, should I have a separate category or should I talk about them in individual activity? Or could I do both? Because from what I've seen is people list them and not necessarily like talk about them because I don't know. It's hard to talk about the impact of an award. I don't know. So I was wondering, what's your advice on that?
I don't know that it's hard to write about the impact of the award if it's authentic and not just you kind of bragging about it. But I agree, it should just be a list. And then if you have space in there, maybe write a little bit of a reflection of maybe one or two of them. That's not really that meaningful for the schools per se, right? It meant something to you, that's fine. I don't think it's enough to warrant its own separate entry because you probably have much more kind of exciting, fun things that you've done that you want to share with them. So
Yeah.
one entry, list the awards. If you have the space, then you can kind of reflect a little bit on what getting the award meant to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, yep, sounds good. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yep. Good luck. Yeah, my general answer for almost all of this is like I have a lot of shadowing, I have a lot of awards, I have this, I have that. Should I list them all together? And the answer is there are no rules. but along that is if there is like one of the things kind of stands apart and it's much more impactful, more meaningful, then sure, like separate it out. And talk about whatever it is about that you want to talk about. Gotham.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. The question I had so far is like just referencing things in your activity section. So a lot of my application is kind of geared around mental health. It's not really something I intended, but as I was writing my personal statement, I realized that I have like a really good foundation for that. Just in my application. So there's this part in my personal statement where I was talking about how a physician assistant told me like, yeah, this stuff gets rough, man. And so I wanted to maybe reference that into my activities because I started a club at my university that kind of centers around raising awareness for mental health and like helping students be there for each other. Do you think that would make it stronger if I referenced it, or do you think just leave it out and save the characters?
Yeah, without seeing it, I don't know. It could go either way.
I see.
But I think it's great that you're adding it with context of it drove me maybe in part or in total to go do something about it, and you aren't just saying it to go, hey, I know that this is a hard job. So yeah,
I
try
see.
it.
And also, as for like talking negatively, quote unquote, I did avoid that throughout my personal statement and my activities. But there were some certain places where I talked about hitting a sort of like roadblock or being faced with this uncomfortable, um, like really uncomfortable, like really like almost terrible situation, and trying to remain calm, and then eventually like getting that like collected mindset back. Do you think that's okay to include, or do you think that shows like too much like almost negativity?
I don't think so. I mean, it depends on how you write about it. It's being authentic, but you don't want to go on and on and on about how terrifying and terrible this experience was, right? Just a quick, short blurb to acknowledge, like, I didn't know what to do in this moment. I kind of panicked a little bit, whatever that was, without going overboard, and then
I
bringing
see.
it back to the whole reason that you're sharing this.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's all the questions I had. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Good luck. Wit.
Hey, thank you for hosting this and for letting me ask a couple of questions.
Yes.
First things up, we talked about this at the beginning just a little bit. I'm curious if you all could dive in just a little bit deeper for a moment. Could you talk a little bit more about your thoughts on the advocacy category? Do we really need to see it focus on like petitions and encouraging voters and somehow coming back to like policy level change for it to be considered advocacy? Or where would you all consider that kind of a line to be?
So I think it's a similar question to research. Students are like, well, I didn't publish, therefore the research isn't important. So if there's no policy change, you're still doing stuff, right? Most of the stuff that we're marching on the streets for doesn't lead to any change. So I don't think I would draw a line that says if you didn't end world hunger that you weren't for advocating for starving children.
Sure. Gotcha. Okay, that's fair. The next thing, I had worked in public health administration for several years, and I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to phrase this correctly without being terribly negative. I transitioned away from public health because the impact was just really intangible. And it's pretty critical because that's why I started seeking out more clinical opportunities and ultimately ended up working as a medical assistant and pursuing this path to be a physician. Do you all have any thoughts, or do I need to mention that like in the public health section just to kind of continue a flow of story, or just mention in like the medical assistant activity, hey, I came to this because I was looking for more of an impact, more of a tangible impact? Is that any thoughts in there? That was kind of rambly.
Bernie?
I don't know that you need to mention that. Like it doesn't really have anything to do with being a medical assistant, right? So it's just focus on your activities. Wait, are you trying to mention it there or in your personal statement?
Yeah, I'm still trying to work through this just a little bit, right? It did shadow a lot of my work in public health, and while I enjoyed that systems level work a lot, at the end of the day, I do need to be working more with patients, both just to feel that impact and be kind of fueled by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of just what you should be focusing on. It's not a personal statement is not about why I'm not continuing in public health. It's about why I want to now be a doctor. And maybe you talk a little bit about having worked in that field and whatever it was that what was that thing that drew you now to patient care or whatever. You talk about that, then you focus more on that.
Okay, focus more on that and less about what pushed me away from some of these other things. Okay, gotcha, cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah, my general answer to that, Wit, is whether it's public health, nursing, whatever someone's leaving, it's most of the discussion shouldn't be why not that thing. It should be why this thing.
That makes sense. Perfect. Thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Jennifer.
Sorry, I'm back. I realized I had something else.
Guess who's back?
So on the negativity thing, I didn't like write in a ton of detail on it, but I'm working right now as a medical assistant at a pain clinic, which obviously can be controversial with like opioids. And so I didn't want to go too much into detail with that, but I did want to just address the fact that like we see some difficult patients because obviously some people are cranky about their meds, honestly. Do you think like I have a sentence right now just about seeing a diverse patient population in the sense that like we obviously have some patients that are super endearing and sweet, and we have some that are honestly aggressive due to the fact that they're in chronic pain. Is that negative? Should I just scratch? Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it because then you're bashing the patient.
Okay.
You can talk a little bit about kind of seeing the challenges that different patients face managing their pain.
Way
Right.
better way to say it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's keep rocking. Jasmine Johnson, come on down.
Hi, thank you. I know you guys are super busy, so thank you guys so much for all of your help.
Thank you.
It's a crazy time for us.
We're happy to be here.
So I had a question about shadowing. So I know you said that like for the most part, shadowing experiences don't like there's not really a whole lot of reflection. So I actually wrote about an experience where I was shadowing a doctor while she was rounding, and sort of like so there was a sort of an incident with the residents, and I didn't intervene per se, but so I guess so long story short, they were making fun of one of the patients, and I kind of like made a face and like sort of hinted at the attending that I was like I didn't feel comfortable with it, and she addressed the situation. And so in my reflection, I just said I was like glad to be part of a teachable moment. So I guess number one, should my shadowing be patient focused, and number two, is that negative for me to talk about like that incident?
So I'll give you two answers. I'll give you the better answer first. At the end of the day, my question is always, what is the goal of you saying, "Ooh, look at I was part of this teachable moment." To me, it's a little bit less about you in that situation, and it's a little bit more of, "Ooh, look what I was able to accomplish." So I'll leave that one there. So you could talk about it, but I'd want to know why you would want to talk about it, especially from that angle. Like, what's the goal there? What did that mean to you? The other angle potentially is someone reading this going, "Oh, we have a tattletale know-it-all who's not going to be any fun to be around because we're going to have to watch everything we have to say."
Okay,
So you potentially want to be a little bit careful there.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I guess just yeah, so as far as like what it meant to me, it was sort of like a racially charged joke. And so it was something that I feel like I was having to be able to raise awareness like that this was an issue that like I feel like it could have been innocent like to them, but I don't think anyone in the most of the folks in the room were aware that that was actually kind of a hurtful thing to say.
Yeah. And when I say like, "Oh, you're a tattletale," like I'm not invalidating or saying whatever this person did was right or wrong. Obviously I wasn't there. I don't know. But there's lots of stuff that happens in medicine. There's lots of patient shaming that happens that shouldn't. And yes, we as a culture need to step up and say things, or else we end up with more seasons of Dr. Death podcasts and TV series because everyone's afraid to say something. And so I know it sounds super hypocritical of me to then turn around and go, but you're trying to get into med school. So like, don't step on toes potentially while you're trying to get in. Stomp all over them once you're in.
That part. Yeah. It goes back to what is the goal of sharing that?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you had other experiences that you could potentially reflect on. But while you're trying to get into medical school, just, play nice.
Okay, that makes total sense. Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. I'll try one more quick one. Vicky, hello.
Hi, how are you guys?
Wonderful.
Good. So I just had a question. I was a volunteer for a rape crisis hotline, and I was wondering, in my description, I was kind of thinking about saying what I was feeling during each call and almost after each call is because we're not allowed to have a follow-up with the person, just to remain anonymous with them, of course. But what I kind of felt through those calls was that I was missing that part of being more directly involved in their care. And also following up with them and kind of making, I guess, a relationship with that person. And that's what kind of pushed me to pursue medicine also. So would saying that in the activity section be considered as something negative?
No, not if you're saying that you wanted to continue, like to check on them, make sure they were okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing anyone who's a volunteer, because that's in no way what I'm trying to do. And I just don't want anyone to see it that way. So I just wanted to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
But you're not, yeah.
I'll give you a different thought here. I don't think it's negative. So I agree with Rennie. I don't think it's negative. My question would be, I'm assuming you were part of that hotline because you're a pre-med and you're trying to get some experiences interacting with people and doing stuff. And so the answer, the kind of desire to want to do more, of course, is there, right? Because you're not a doctor yet and you want to be a doctor and you're a pre-med and you're doing these activities to get experiences. And so the desire, the communication, the message of I want to do more, this wasn't enough, is one of those, well, duh statements to me, right? It's like, as an EMT, I wasn't able to do enough, therefore I want to be a doctor. I'm like, well, yes, you want to be a doctor, I understand, which is why you're an EMT, to get experience, to prove that you like being around patients. Let's focus on what you were able to accomplish and less on the, I wanted more, I needed more.
Okay, so for me, it was actually a little bit different. It was more so like personal experiences with what I saw friends go through. And so that's kind of why I joined the rape crisis hotline. And then through that is when I saw that I want to do more than just helping people. I was already on the path to become pre-med, but my motivation in doing that wasn't just to get experience, because I had other volunteering things too.
Okay. Yeah.
So in that case, would it be considered social advocacy under AMCAS, or would it be volunteering non-medical clinical?
I don't think that's social advocacy.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
because you're not bringing attention to the cause. So you're volunteering, you're working, you're helping people.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Karina wants to for me to press my button. All right, look, my lips aren't moving. There are no rules. Just kidding. Look,
now you confuse them more.
There are no rules. I got lots of buttons.
Yes. The MCAT is hard, and the MCAT is important. And to do...
All right, my friends, Verinia Grant. I'm leaving you guys with nightmares.
Yeah.
If you all want a little bit of extra help, we are here to help you. medicalschoolhq.net/advising. Our schedules are packed, but you can come hang out with us if you want and can. If you're not applying this cycle, or maybe you have to reapply next cycle, hopefully not. Application Academy is very similar to what we did today with reviewing essays together as a group. So come hang out with us there if you would like. Otherwise, we do lots of free workshops, premedworkshops.com. Go check those out.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Verinia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.